your first philosophy class with our lovely friend Ira, and this is your fourth or fifth visit, I can't remember.
Oh.
And I'm going to hand you over to the capable hands of our lovely friend, and he'll guide you into a beautiful talk into what he's into. See you at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll begin with the traditional, how they normally start this type of subject. There's a prayer that they say. Some of you may know it, so join in. If not, then you can it just takes a second. The prayer actually means, hopefully the teacher gets something out of the talk, and the listeners get something out of the talk. That's the actual meaning of this prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So once again, I want to thank Ellen for inviting me, Rupert, and the crew, and I'm glad to be back. I enjoy these, and I hope, has anyone was here before? Last year?
Sarah was here 2 years ago.
Okay. Well, so what normally happens every year is I repeat what I've said the previous year because there's new people. And so it may be somewhat repetitious, but the subject matter is such it really doesn't matter. You can hear it many times and not understand it. So let me begin by saying I'm going to talk about the most ancient philosophical tradition in India. It predates Buddhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Sufism, of course. It's the oldest of all Indian philosophies, and that is the philosophy that's contained in the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the oldest philosophical text in India. The philosophy that's contained in those Upanishads is called Vedanta. And because those Upanishads teach a very peculiar philosophy, it's actually called the philosophy of Advaita, non-duality. So it's called Advaita Vedanta. And it's found, the oldest Upanishads are at least 800 BC. That means on this continent, India, there were people running around before the Buddha was born, before Mahavira was born, and they were teaching these Upanishadic teachings. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to try to share with you the basic concepts of it. And then I'm coming back tomorrow. So today will be the philosophy of the Upanishads, what actually are the major fundamental concepts. And tomorrow I'll try to talk more practical. You've probably all heard things about the word bhakti, devotion. The word yoga, of course, you all are very familiar with. I'll give you some, we'll discuss what that actually means in the Upanishads. This teaching, even though the essence comes from the Upanishads, it really consists of 3 texts. It's a study of the Upanishads, a text called the Bhagavad Gita, and there's another text called the Brahma Sutras. These 3 texts comprise, if a person wanted to study Advaita Vedanta, these are the texts that they primarily study. So, first let me begin by saying what this philosophy is not, what Vedanta is not. Vedanta is not theology. It has nothing similar to what we think about in Christianity, Judaism, Islam. There's no belief in some God somewhere off somewhere. There's no need for blind faith, that you have to believe it because some scripture said it or some prophet said it. Nor is it mysticism. This teaching has nothing to do with getting a trance, raising your kundalini, seeing images or visions or whatever, some special mystical experience. It has nothing to do with that either. So the most important concept in this teaching is the concept of the self. In Sanskrit, it's called Atman, the self. And exactly what is the self? Of course, if you ask anybody, who are you? You'll tell me, I'm so-and-so. I live here, this is what I do. I'm now studying yoga, and then I'm going to go back home and do things. So that's who myself is. I am this, and I also have the feeling that I am this, and this is mine. This is my house, my wife, my husband, my money. I am this, and this is mine. That's who I am. So that is not the self that's taught in Vedanta. That self in Sanskrit is called ahamkara. It's a notion that we have about ourselves. I am fat, I am thin, I am tall, I am short. All of these ideas are what constitutes our empirical self. And we're all familiar with it. We live with it constantly. That's our identity. I feel that I am this body. I exist from the tip of the toe right up to here, and this is me. Anything outside of this is not me. And this is how I experience the world. I am so-and-so. I am this. This idea that we have, that I am this, is just an idea. It changes all the time. We say, I am thin. I am blind. I am happy. I am unhappy. I've decided. The I is flipping constantly to the body, the senses, the mind. We identify with all of that. That I is an object to me. It appears to me. This I notion. I am thin, I am happy, I am sad. It's changing constantly. How do I know that? Because besides this I thought, besides every thought, in every person, there's a witnessing consciousness. If you examine your own experience, right here, right now, you can verify whether this is the fact. Are your thoughts, including the I thought, appearing and disappearing to you? When I'm awake, the I thought appears, I'm so-and-so. But as soon as I go into a dream, I don't identify with that I thought. Now I'm identified with the dream I notion, the dream ego. I'm young in the dream. I'm old in the waking. The I has changed. And then in deep sleep, I'm not aware of any I at all. So that I is an object to me. It comes and it goes. To whom does it come and go? It comes and goes to me. That me is the Atman of the Upanishads. It's called the witnessing consciousness, the Sakshi, the direct seer. In the Upanishads it says, Pratibodha viditam matam. It is known with every thought. It's never hidden. It's always shining. It never changes. It's always present. You can't think it away. If you get rid of all your thoughts, it's there. Knows the absence. I'm not aware of anything. The thoughts come, it's still there. The thoughts can't even come without it being there. That unchanging consciousness is what's called Atman. Everyone's true nature. Let me say a little bit about this witnessing consciousness in each one. We all, even if you say, okay, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. In me there's a witnessing consciousness that witnesses my thoughts and ideas. But I don't witness your thoughts. You must have your witness and I have my witness. And so there must be many witnesses. But this teaching is Ekatma Sarva Bhuteshu. The witness in me and in you and everybody is exactly the same. Because this witness is not merely the witness of every thought. It's the witness of every perception. It's the witness of every state. It's the witness of time. It's the witness of space. And because it's the witness of time and space, it can't be many. Only that which is in time or space could be multiplied. In time or space we can have but the witness of time and space is not in time or space. In waking, I'm aware of the waking time. As soon as the dream appears, I'm aware of the dream time. And I'm also aware of the absence of the appearance of time. I'm not in time. I am timeless awareness. Because I'm timeless, there are certain things that I can't possibly have. I can't have birth. I can't have old age. I can't have sickness. And I can't have death. I am immortal, unchanging, all-pervading consciousness. That witness in me is the one unchanging reality. Everything else is changing all the time. There's a saying in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. That which is changing can't be real. And that which is real never changes. If you use that as the criteria for determining what is real and unreal, you'll see the only thing that's never changing in every experience is that witnessing consciousness. And everything else is an object to that consciousness and constantly changing. It can have no reality apart from the consciousness. You can see this easier in a dream. You're the witness of your whole dream. In that dream, there's the dream time, dream space, dream people, dream causality, dream laws of nature. And the whole thing is appearing to you. How do you see that dream? Do you see it with your waking eyes? Do you hear the sounds with your ears? It's in the light of your own consciousness that that whole dream is appearing. It's called the dream state. Well, the waking state is exactly the same. It has a beginning and an end, and it appears. And when it appears as real. But as soon as the dream comes, the subject, object, time, space, at the time, what I mean by a dream is the state that when you're in it, you take it as waking. To call it a dream is a bias from the waking point of view, because when you're in the dream, that's waking. The one that was witnessing the whole dream is the same one that's witnessing the waking. Nobody else witnesses your waking. We all commonly think this waking state that we're in is a common experience. That I see this, you see this, it's a common. But my dreams are private. You don't see my dream. I'm the only one. But the experience of the states is that I'm the only witness of waking and dream. To the one who is seeing the dream, it's to him that the waking appears. You can't say him, to it, to that pure consciousness, which is one, undivisible. In Sanskrit, that consciousness in the Upanishads is described as Satchitananda. Existence, its existence, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, bliss. But those words are not to be understood how we normally think of this thing exists. Where does it exist? At a particular time, at a particular place? But the consciousness that exists is not in time or space. It's existence beyond time and space. It's consciousness, but not consciousness like I'm conscious of this. It's consciousness with no object. Pure consciousness. If somehow you could remove everything that's appearing to you, my voice, the sound of if you could remove everything, consciousness with no object, that's called Chit. Existence beyond time and space. It's consciousness bereft of all objects. And it's called Ananda. That word Ananda is normally translated into English as bliss. It's the bliss that we all really want. It's the happiness that we're all seeking for, in fact. But it's not happiness like we get in the world when we enjoy an ice cream. When I take that ice cream and I desire it, and I take the spoon, and then as soon as it touches my tongue, that made me happy. I'm happy. Fantastic ice cream. Has no beginning or end. And it's not caused by anything. It's your very nature. It's the bliss of the self. That's called Satchitananda. That's our true nature. That's the Atman of the Upanishads. You don't have to go to a cave to recognize this. You don't have to even stop all your thoughts to recognize this. It's called Sarvatrika Anubhava. It's everyone's common experience right now. You can verify the truth of it in your own experience if you examine. Are the thoughts subject or object? Is the world subject or object? Is my body subject or object? Check your own experience. Because the teaching of Vedanta is not to be accepted because somebody said it. If it's not in accordance with your own experience, it should be rejected. So the only way to validate it is to examine your own experience. And if in doing so, you nod your head like this, I'm the witness of all of this. Then the next question became, how do you know that? How do you know you're the witness of your thoughts? Do you see the witness? What color is the witness? How big is it? What qualities does it have? It's called nirguna. You can't conceive of it. The Upanishad says, the knower of knowing can't be known. You can't objectify the subject in you. It can't be objectified like if you're meditating and you see Shiva or a flame or a candle or a mantra, but the witness, you can't see it. You can't objectify it. You can't even describe it. The Upanishads say like this: that which cannot be known by the mind, but that by which the mind itself is said to be known. That which the mind cannot know, it can't objectify it, it can't conceive of it. Any concept is not it, because you're the witness of every concept, but no concept can objectify the witness. That which can't be known by the mind, but that by which the mind itself is known. Know that to be Atman, and not what they meditate on as this, as some object, as something, as some distant God or something. It's your very self. That witnessing consciousness is Krishna. That's Rama. That's Shiva. Everything arises in that. Everything abides in that. Everything merges in that. The dream appears in that and disappears. Whatever happens in the dream, me as the witness is unaffected, ever pure, ever free, ever awake. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava. That's the nature of the self. It's always present. It's never hidden. It's lighting up every experience at all times. But we never take note of it. Even though it's everyone's common experience, why is it that nobody thinks that that's myself? Nobody even has an inkling that that could be myself. Everybody, I said in the beginning, feels I am this. I, the consciousness, the subject, am this, the object. I've mixed up the self and the not self, and they become like one thing, apparently, that the witness is really the witnessed, the knower is really the known, the subject is really the object. We've all mixed these two things up, and I say I am this, and this is mine, and that's called samsara. This mistaken confusion about what is the self and what is the not self. Who am I and what is different than I? This mixing up that we all do naturally. Nobody has to teach us to do this. Everybody's in this exact same situation. We've all mixed up the subject with the object, and now we're in samsara. I was born, I'm getting old, I'm going to get sick, and I'm going to die. That's the idea. When in fact, you're the ever-present witness, unaffected by any of it. If in a dream, the dream body's cut, the witness is not cut. If you can see you're the witness of the waking, then if the waking body's cut, you're not cut. The self is always pure, always bliss, not caused by anything. It's eternal peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That Shanti doesn't mean, oh, my mind is peaceful. When there's no more mind, no more time, no more space, that's called Shanti. It's the very nature of the self. Eternal peace. And you don't have to do anything to become it. You don't have to make any effort to get it. Because you are that. Everything that we're looking for in life. What do we normally want in life? If you ask people, I want to be happy. How happy would you like to be? Well, I like to be infinitely happy. You got that? I'll take it. If you have infinite happiness, whatever happiness you can think of that has, I want more than that. Without end, if it's available, I'll take infinite happiness. What else do I want? I want to be free. I want to be liberated from all bondage, from all limitations, from all suffering. I want to be free. Everybody feels, I would love to be free, whatever that means. I don't want to die. Everyone here fears their death. I'm going to die. The party will go on. I won't be here to have fun. I'll be out of the game. So I don't want to die. I want to be immortal. I want to never die, be infinitely happy, and be free. If you look at the nature of the witness, you'll see that it's not limited by anything. It's ever free. It has no desires. It has no fears. It's fearless awareness. Attaining fearlessness doesn't mean being brave. Oh, here comes a lion, I'm not afraid. No. When there's nothing appearing, when there's no second thing, when there's only the self, that's called abhaya, fearlessness. There's a famous verse in the Upanishads that says, where there is duality, as it were, one sees another, one hears another, one knows another. But when to him all has become the self alone, there's only one witnessing consciousness that's real. There's nothing else really here. Whatever's appearing has no reality. It's just like a dream. It seems as though real, but it appears and disappears. It comes and goes. It's an object. It can't exist without me. The appearance can't exist without me. It has no independent existence. But even without the appearance, I don't need it. Whether it appears, but the appearance depends, so it has no reality apart from me. I am the reality of the whole world. The self, the witness, is the thing that pervades the whole universe. That's why they call the witness Vishnu. Vishnu is, in Sanskrit, it means vish, to enter. Vishnu is that consciousness that pervades everything. It's hard to see that consciousness is pervading everything here. If you could somehow remove your consciousness, you would see that nothing would appear. But if you remove all the appearances, consciousness is unchanged. That means the reality of what's appearing is myself. Sarvamidam atma eva. All this is the self alone. Ekam advityam. One without a second. You are that self, ever the same, beyond time and space. That's the Atma. And we're all in the ignorance of taking myself, who's always like that, as something other. And as soon as I take myself to be a mortal, a body, a limited person, I seek happiness, freedom, peace, fearlessness. I want to get my desires fulfilled so I can get rid of them. All of that, because of this ignorance, I'm seeking for what I already am. I'm going to tell you a story that typifies exactly what our situation is. For those who have been here previously, it'll be a repeat. I'll do it quickly. But this really shows, it's a Vedantic story, it's quite ancient, and it's very beautiful. The brief version is like this. There was a guru, and he had 10 disciples. And he told the head disciple, I want you, he was in the north of India, I want you guys to go to the south of India. There's a famous Meenakshi temple, and you go in the temple, and you get the darshan of the deity in that temple. You'll have a wonderful experience. And you, the head guy, I want you to report back and tell me how everything went. Okay? Okay, Guruji. So off they went. And they go to the south of India. They find the temple. They go in. They have their darshan. And they're quite happy about the whole thing. And they say, oh, we're going to go back now. We'll tell Guruji about what a wonderful thing. So they're on the way back, and they come to a river. And at the bank of the river, there's a guy has a little boat, and he's hanging out there, and they can walk up to him, and the guy with the boat says to the head person, what are you guys up to? Oh, we come from the north. Our Guru said to go to that temple. We had darshan, now we're going back to Guruji. We're so happy. So the boatman says, I'm very happy to hear that, and I wish you guys a good journey. Have a good day. So the head monk looks at the other monks and says, all right, can everybody swim? And all the monks said, we can swim excellent. We're professional swimmers. So he said, okay, jump in the water. So they all swim across, and when they get out to the other side, the head monk says, 1 second, before we proceed, I'm going to make a head count. I'm going to count to make sure that everybody made it across okay. And the head monk proceeded like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, the 10th monk is missing. He asked the other monks to all count. Same business. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10th monk is missing. What do we... Don't panic. We're going to split up. Half of us go this way, half go that way. We will find the 10th monk. I mean, what am I going to tell Guruji? They split up, and they're looking under rocks, under the bushes, along some signs, some symptoms. They come back. The head monk says, so, did anybody see anything? No, the 10th monk is missing. And they begin to weep. They're wailing on this beach there. Remember that boatman that they saw when they first arrived? He sees what's happening. He gets into the boat. He comes over, he goes to the head monk. Excuse me, you guys were so happy on the other side. You're crying now. What's the problem? You don't understand. We came 10. We're only 9. The 10th monk is missing, and I'm in charge. So the boatman looks, does a quick count. He says, 1 second. You say that you came 10? Yes. You say that you're 9 now? Yes. Boatman says, don't worry. I will produce the 10th man. So the head monk says, what, when I die and go to heaven? No. I'm going to produce that 10th monk right here and right now. He's available. So the guy seemed quite confident that he could do this. He said, okay, where's the 10th monk? He says, before I show you where the 10th monk is, I want you to count one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the boatman looks at the head guy and he goes, Tatvamasi, you are the 10th. You are what you're looking for. You're already that, but you forgot to count your own self. When the head monk heard that sentence, you are that, immediately he understood his ignorance, and he knew that I am the 10th. What I was looking for, I was already that. And in my ignorance, I went searching for it. And the harder I looked, the better the 10th man was hidden. The more effort they made to find the 10th man, the more concealed he was. It took the boatman, those words, "You are the 10." And we've come to understand in the same way this teaching, that happiness we're looking for, the freedom we're looking for, the fearlessness we're looking for, the desireless. You are that. You don't have to do anything. It's your eternal nature. You just have to recognize it. Because you've made a mistake, you've taken the witness for the witnessed. If you examine your experience, you shouldn't believe this. This is not religion. And it's not some yogi. I'm not some special person who's had some magical experiences that you guys haven't had. Everybody can see this clearly in their own experience, whether it's a fact or not. If you recognize I am that, that's called Atma Jnana, the knowledge of the self. I am that. It puts an end to the ignorance that I am this. I am eternally free, eternally immortal, eternally awake. I am pure consciousness beyond time and space. I am the one reality without a second. You can say that based on your own experience, not because anyone else told you it, not because some ancient text stated it. But in our ignorance, unless you find someone like the boatman, that means a teacher, who knows that your true nature is already that, you'll be looking for this thing and you'll never be able. How will you see the witness? Where will you go? You can't see it with your senses. Show me the witness. There's no witness to be. I can't conceive of it. I can't see it. It doesn't exist. That witness which is witnessing the very denial. There's a witness. There's no witness. That consciousness in which those two thoughts appear, which you can't get rid of in your own experience, that's the essential point. The whole spirituality of India, the ancient Indian teaching, you are that. That's called Atma. And ignorance is mixing up the self with something that I'm not. And we're all in that ignorance. And the whole purpose of Vedanta is to remove that ignorance. By ourselves we can't do it, because everything we do is like those 10 monks looking for the 10th monk. You need a teacher who says, stop the search. Our minds are extrovert. That's the natural tendency of the human mind. It's out, because the senses are out. My eyes are out, my ears are out, my smell is out. So the mind follows. The mind is extrovert. When the mind is extrovert, this witnessing consciousness is 1,000,000 miles away. If you can take that extrovert mind even for a moment, that means like while I'm talking now, during this talk, you leave it all. You take that, because this is the spiritual faculty of the mind. You have to know this not through logic, because it's the witness of all logic. You can't know it through reason. You have to know it another way. And the way to know it is to take our extrovert mind and to yoke it, to join it, to turn it towards that inner light that's shining in your heart, in your mind. That inward turn is the spiritual journey. When the mind turns in, that consciousness is always there. It was never hidden. It's always shining. The mind is kind of like a door in a kitchen restaurant. You know, in the restaurant, in the kitchen, they have that hinge door, goes both ways. Well, our minds are naturally able and do go out. But it has the capacity to turn. It doesn't want to do this. The mind is so enamored with the world because all of our happiness, objects that we can enjoy, spouses we can mate with, beautiful restaurants we can... The mind is out searching for happiness. So it doesn't want to turn away from that. It's only if you see that all of those happinesses have three defects. They have a beginning, they have an end, and they're caused by something. The person who has seen that fact and says, no, I want permanent happiness, and I know there's no permanent happiness in any of those things out there that's caused. If it has a cause, it has a beginning. And there's a law in Vedanta. Whatever has a beginning must have an end. So I can't find that permanent happiness. So for the person who's kind of, I want infinite, unending happiness, that hinge, the mind has the capacity to introvert, introspect. We have to see what's the subject, what's the object, who's the witness, and what's being witnessed. That requires an introvert mind, a subtle mind. You have to yoke your mind to that reality. That's called yoga, by the way. That's yoga. Yoking your mind to that. That's the only yoga. The very Sanskrit root of the word yoga is yuj, to join, to become one with. We have to see that I am that. That knowledge makes me that. In the Upanishads it says, Brahmavid, Brahma Bhavati. The knower of the absolute reality is the absolute reality. When you know it, you'll be it. I am that. Pure consciousness. To know it is to be it. In fact, when you know it, you'll no longer be a knower. Because the knower, the known, and the knowledge are all object. Consciousness is like deep sleep. When there's no second thing, when there's no time, no space, no ego, nor is there the absence of all of that. That's the nature of consciousness. That's who you are. One without a second. There's really no second thing here. What you call the world is like a snake on a rope. There's only a rope, but in the darkness I mistake it as a snake. The truth of the snake is nothing but the rope. The snake can't exist without the rope. The rope fully pervades the snake. It's the truth of it. The Atman is the only reality. It pervades the not-self. The not-self has no existence apart from me. That me is not the ego, but the witnessing consciousness that's the same in everybody. Okay, I think we covered a lot, yeah? So now you know what the Atman is in the Upanishads, and you know what ignorance is, and that should be plenty for one talk. Something to think about. A lot of material. Let's just, how are we doing here? So,
It's 10 past 5, so we've got questions if you want to do
yeah, that's what I was thinking. We have time for questions?
Yes, we do, definitely.
So then, based on what was just discussed, if anybody has any questions, doubts, objections, comments, yes.
How do you know deep sleep? There's such a thing as deep sleep when it's never experienced.
Did everybody hear the question?
Yeah.
Normally we think that everybody has 3 common experiences. You guys are from Europe, I'm from America. but we all share one thing. Sometimes I'm awake as a human being, sometimes I have a dream, and sometimes I think I'm in deep sleep. What I mean by deep sleep, I'm not aware of anything. I'm not aware of myself or the world. We all have that, feel that we have that state. Now Steve is bringing up the question, how do you know that you've had that state? Because you're not there to experience it. How do I know there's this table here? Because I'm here to experience it. But deep sleep, I'm not there, so how do I know there's even deep sleep? Is that the question? So, let's do this. Be curious. How do we know that we've had deep sleep? Do we know it? Do we really have deep sleep? We all think that we say, oh, I slept great, I was in deep sleep, I didn't know anything. So, but if you examine it, Steve's absolutely right. Nobody's ever experienced the state of deep sleep. It's only in the waking state that we say, I knew nothing. But you can't remember deep sleep, and I'm going to tell you why. This is a little obtuse, but if you follow it, it's quite subtle. When the waking appears, the waking time, waking space, waking causality, waking laws of nature appear. As soon as the waking goes, dream time appears and disappears. Appears during the dream, and it seems as though there's no more waking time. Now it's nighttime. It was day. So the time that's appearing in the dream is in the dream. The waking time is in the waking state. The dream time is in the dream state. So the states are not in time, where you could say first there's waking, and then there's dream, and then there's sleep. Because there's nothing outside of the states that's called time in which the states are occurring. I don't know if anybody got that, but if that's the case, then if the states are not in time, how can I remember deep sleep? Because remembering means it would have had to be an event in the waking time series. But sleep is not in the waking time series. When sleep comes, there's no waking or dream. That's the experience. So we can't remember it, because it's not an event in the past. So then, how do we think about deep sleep? In the waking state alone, we have to think like this. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
So since we can't remember dream, it's just, you know, if you're in the dream and you're talking to your friend, suppose you told your friend in a dream, hey, last night I had this crazy dream. In the dream, you're telling your friend, last night I had this crazy dream. I was flying on a carpet. It's crazy. Come on, let's go have lunch. This is in the dream. Then you wake up. You realize that your friend going to lunch was all a dream, and him telling you that the previous night he had a dream was all part of the same dream. Everybody? So the way to do this is that you can't remember the states. It's just an imagination that there's 3 states. This is advanced Vedanta. I didn't want to get into this too much. But so the way to do it is to do it right here and right now. What does that mean? Suppose, let me use my thumb. So I see my thumb with my eyes. The light hits it, hits my eyes, goes through the optic nerve to the visual cortex and eventually here. And I have the perception there's a thumb out there, the object. I'm aware of it. My awareness is appearing to me. It's an object. I know it through the senses. That's called waking. when I know the world directly through my senses. So right here, this is the equivalent of waking. Now if I close my eyes and I have just the impression, I see my thumb in my mind's eye, the impression of the thumb. Now it's just an image that's appearing, kind of a trace from my experience. I close the eyes, I can still see it in my mind's eye, so to speak. It's appearing in my consciousness. That's the equivalent of a dream. In the waking we see a person, and then in the dream we have that experience, oh, I dream about the person. If you didn't see him in the waking, you couldn't have dreamt of. So waking, and right here and now, that thumb inside is just like a dream. It's something in the mind that's appearing to you. Outside, something outside appearing to you, waking. Inside, appearing to you, dream. Now here's the hard part. That thumb that's appearing to you, that's the equivalent of a dream, take it away. That's deep sleep. Right here, right now. Deep sleep is just the absence. I'm not aware of anything. You're not denying your consciousness. You're denying that there's anything that you're conscious of. I'm not aware of anything. You remove the outside, you're waking, you remove the inside, the image in your mind. That consciousness that remains, we call that in the waking deep sleep. We call it unconscious. But really, deep sleep is yourself. That's who you really are. Deep sleep is God. Every night we become one with God. When no object appears, we remain as that pure Satchitananda. That's sleep. But from the waking point of view, I said, I don't know anything, so I'm unconscious. But from the point of view of experience, I'm still conscious. The greatest philosopher of this Upanishadic philosophy is a guy by the name of Shankaracharya. He has a famous verse that says, briefly, how I was in deep sleep is how I am right now. My nature never changes. How I was in deep sleep, not aware of anything. Now that something's appearing, my nature hasn't changed. Whether anything appears or not, waking, inside, dream, take them both away, you call it sleep. In fact, we distinguish waking from dream, but from the point of view of experience, they're exactly the same. When they appear, they're both waking. During the time of their experience, they're both waking. They have a beginning and an end. They appear to me. I'm beyond the states, and I'm beyond the time, space, birth, death, causality, fear, limitations that appear in those states. I am sleep. Sleep means Satchitananda. How I was in deep sleep, perfectly pure, free, and awake, is how I am right now. Whether something appears or not, I'm unaffected, asanga, unattached, ever pure. So, technically you're right, Steve. We can't really remember deep sleep. But people's common experience is they think that, oh, I had deep sleep. So Vedanta just accepts that notion and talks from that point of view. But if you look at it more closely, it's true. You can't remember deep sleep because deep sleep is not a state in the a state that occurs in the waking time series. You can only remember something that happened in the past. Sleep is not in the past of the. When the waking goes and the dream goes, that's called deep sleep. There's no time. How long did you sleep? When you wake up, you say, oh, I went to bed at 12, I woke up at 7, I slept. But in deep sleep, how long did you sleep?
In your experience, there's no time.
It's just timeless awareness. It never had a beginning or end. When the waking appears, you didn't wake up. When the waking disappears, you didn't go to sleep. You're always the same, unchanging. That's the Atma. If you examine your experiences of the states, you can see this. If you examine your own mind, you can see this. You have to verify this in your own experience. Right here and right now, just like the 10th man. As soon as he hears this, because you don't need anything to make the witness known. In Sanskrit it's called Svayam Jyoti. It's self-lit. It lights up everything else, but it doesn't need another light to light it up. We know it directly, immediately. Sakshat aparokshat. That consciousness in you, it's kind of like if you go into a dark room and you light a candle. In the dark room you can't see any of the objects, so we need something to light them up. So I light a candle. Now the candle is illuminating and I can see all of the objects. Do I have to light another candle to light up that candle? It's self-lit. That's how consciousness is. We don't need anything to light it up. It lights up everything, but nothing lights it up. That's shining, everything shines. There's a Sanskrit saying like that. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is it fair to say that the great saints and seers and beings who are awake are in touch with a resonance within themselves that is so pervading that they never fall into the forgetfulness that they're this small thing and they're in this vast remembrance all the time? Would that not exist in deep sleep for them?
For them, you have to understand that in this philosophy, those so-called people, they've realized the truth, so they are that truth. They don't have any states. There's no waking, dream, deep sleep for them. That was all because they didn't know that there's only one reality. But once they realized there's only one truth, there's no states. What I called waking is me. What I call dream is me. When those two are gone, it's just me. There are no states. I am everything.
So when they sleep, it's just to rest their body and they're still established. When they...
At that point, they don't have a body, they don't... I'll tell you one famous thing that addresses this. Oh, did I say it already? Where there is duality, as it were, did I say that? One sees another, hears another, knows another. But one to him, the wise man. Here the wise man is the one who knows the teaching of the Upanishads. This is not taught in Buddhism. This is not taught in Sufism, Judaism, Kabbalah. This is the unique teaching of the Upanishads. There's no other. So when you realize I am that absolute unchanging reality beyond time and space, I never knew anything, I never saw anything, I don't have any students, I don't have any life, I was never born, I don't get sick. That's his conviction, based on his own experience. His all samsara of I have a body, I'm awake, I'm going to have a bad dream, I got to go to sleep, finished, because that was all based on a misconception. That is now gone. And he remains as the Atman. That's called moksha. Liberation is just abiding in your own true nature. You don't have to do anything to get it. Just remove all the wrong ideas that I am something other than what I truly am. That's all that's required. You need a teacher for that, because in our ignorance, we have no idea. We naturally think I'm the body. If you go to a Buddhist teacher, he will say, sir, there's no self even in the body. The body's changing every minute. There's no self. There's no self in the senses. There's no self in the mind. There's no self. That's the central doctrine of Buddhism. No self. The Upanishad says there is a self, the witness of all of those things that you can't know merely by reason. The Buddhists rejected the Upanishads and tried to understand reality on the basis of reason. But this witness cannot be proved or disproved by reason, because it's the witness of every reason. I believe it, I don't believe it. It's because of this, it's not because of... It's beyond all dispute, it's indisputable, unnegatable, ever present. But the Buddhists couldn't find it, because they were looking for it as though it were an object. And the more they looked, they were just like the 10th man. They need a Vedanta teacher. This Vedantic teaching that you are that one reality, Satchitananda, infinite bliss, immortal bliss. That's the ancient teaching. To join with that is called yoga. I think we'll end it today with that. So since we started the class in a very traditional manner with that chant, we'll end it with another short chant. Some of you may know it or may not. If you know it, you can join. I'll tell you the English meaning of this. Very brief. That is fullness. This is fullness. From that fullness, this fullness has come. Of this fullness, take the fullness away, fullness alone remains. Purna means fullness. Let's try it. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all for listening. Thank you once again, Ellen. I enjoyed it very much. And I'll see you tomorrow, same time. If you think a little bit about what I said and have some questions, if you have no questions, I'm getting nervous. You should either say, I don't believe a word you said, sir, you're talking out of your ass. So, let's have a discussion. Because just to say, okay, Hari Om.
Hari Om.